Hello and welcome to a tour of Giants of Karelia. So this is the second of the final stand maps. And as you can see, it's a bit of a big sprawler. So let's start at the beginning with A, which is a complex of small buildings. They're all destructible, blown up by tanks and C4 and rockets. There's a few trucks, a water tower, and there's a metal storm launcher. So it's quite a nice complex of buildings, but it does have an issue. And the issues become apparent when you look at A from the ground. You're very open to aircraft, to snipers. You know, it's all very well having buildings, but they're not much good if they can just be taken out by the attack choppers and tanks that you're hiding from. It's also one of the lowest points on the map, so it is quite easy to get sniped in here. Although the main problem with A is the fact that it's miles away from anywhere. It doesn't get regular traffic. You might get the occasional helicopter drop in here to capture it, but other than that, it's not going to happen. But the reason why this isn't a good infantry target, it's a vehicle target, is the area in which it can be captured. So if you look, I'm capturing this point here. That's a long way away from the flag. If I run to the other end of this building, I'm still capturing it. I have to go to the back of this building all the way over here to be out of the capture zone. So all the capture points on this map are designed for vehicle captures. They're massive. In fact, everything on this map is to a big scale. If we go back into spectator mode and head towards B, which is the closest point to A, you can see it's a long journey. And again, when we get to B, there's not an awful lot here. There's a couple of gas towers, a little building, and a big gas tower. But that's it. And when you're on the ground at B, again you can see it's a pretty open capture point. There's nowhere really to hide. So again, as infantry, you're pretty much open to snipers, tanks, helicopters. The armour is just going to have a field day. And that's what this map is designed for. This is an armour map. And again, you can see that the capture point is absolutely massive. So I have to run for quite a while to actually get from where I was capturing this point to the flag to take this guy out. So A and B really aren't that much fun for infantry. But there's another problem with them, and for that we have to look at the overhead map. Here you can see the map view from above, and the first thing you'll notice is that A and B are pretty much off on their own to the north of the map. In this view, the Russians would be spawning off the map to the top right, and the US would be spawning off the map to the bottom left. And this is the way that this map often goes. The bottom 5 capture points will be held by the US because they have an easier time getting to them. If you remember the whiteout video, that has a similar problem with 2 of the capture points, except on this map it's probably worse. On whiteout you have an open area with a road running through it down the middle. On this map it's a river, and there's only one bridge for the Russians to get their armour across towards C and F. And it's not a direct route because it's very rough terrain. If we go back in Spectator and go from B towards D, you can see the size of the valley and the river that you've got to get across. But let's take a look at D and that bizarre flag placement. Now it's not quite as bad as it seems from the air. If we go back to a ground view, you'll see just how big this capture point is when the point turns into the circle. There you go. I'm already under this point and capturing it. And it extends quite a long way out into the river. In fact, I think you can just about get to the other bank and still be on the capture point. There we go. Not capturing it anymore. So capturing it from this side of the river is pretty hard. Back into spectator mode and we'll head over and have a look at C. Now this is the infantry centric point on this map, and this is the Walker factory. As well as a large main chamber, there's quite a complex of tunnels under here as well, and that roof is solid at the start but can be blown open by explosives to enable you to drop down into this chamber. You can get a better view of the scale of C if we go in on foot, and this is a multi-level area. You've got the floor level, which often ends up rubble strewn. You've got this catwalk that runs around the side. You've got the top of the column, which you can drop into from the dome, and of course you can shoot down from the top of the dome itself. So this is a pretty good infantry combat area, although it is quite hectic. Outside there's a bit of cover, not a lot. There's a few barrels and buildings and hummocks. There's the remains of a walker, and you've got a metal storm launcher sat out here as well. There's another part to see which is often overlooked, and that's the rail tracks. So the rail tracks disappear off into a tunnel, and this provides several access points to C as well. So you can go in through that tunnel into C. If you continue down the tracks, there's another set of little tunnels off to the left hand side, and this just loops round back onto the main tunnel, so none of these doorways lead anywhere. And then there's like a little station here as well, which you can use to head straight down towards F, or if you turn right you go back into the main chamber of C. So if you want a good infantry experience on this map, C is pretty much the only point that's going to give you it. Now it does link directly to one of the other points. So if we head off down this tunnel, which isn't the easiest thing to do in spectator mode, but I manage it just about, you can see that there's quite a complex of tunnels and rooms down here as well, and this leads out onto the F point. From ground level you can see there's not really much to F. There's a few trucks, crates and porta cabins, and there's a couple of entrances that lead into the tunnel network that go to C. And because F is pretty open and outdoors, it's far easier to take F from C than it is to take C from F. These large doors control access to the tunnels that go to C, and it's not just really tunnels, there are a series of rooms and chambers down here as well. So there is some good infantry fighting on this map, I just don't think it's going to be in Conquest. Now these tunnels lead to the outside area at C through another set of doors, and there's another access that goes into the C chamber itself. If we go back into spectator mode, you can see that there's a direct link between F and G, and this is one of the things that gives the US side such an advantage. So there's not an awful lot at G, it's a very limited base, it's pretty much just a flag and a cave and a truck. So besides being able to capture from inside the tunnels don't really go anywhere. This doorway doesn't go anywhere, you can't open it, and this tunnel just runs back towards the US spawn. And there's a bit of a bug here at the moment, you can come out of it but you can't go in it, there's an invisible wall. So if we go back around to the main entrance, you can see that we can capture this from quite a long way inside these tunnels, safe from tanks and helicopters. The other tunnel leads out towards F, so from here you can overlook the F point. Now when I was flying around I did forget to stop off at one point, and that's E. There's not really a lot here. You've got a quad bike, you've got a little hut, and you've got a broken down train. Other than that, it's pretty dull. You can get up onto the railway from here, but you are going to be pretty open if you try going up here. Only reason to get here is pretty much so you can get to B a little faster. So that's all the conquest capture points on Giants of Karelia. Is this map any good? I don't think the map's bad, I just think it's imbalanced. So from the US spawn, you've got G, D, E, C and F, all a bit too linked together. It's quite a large advantage for the US side over the Russian side. The Russians start over there and they've got A. Yes, they've got quite an easy access to B, but they've got to get across this river. I get the feeling at some point they moved D to this bridge. I don't think that's where they originally intended it to be, because if they manage to swing around, there is a bunch of containers between B and A, and I think that's originally what they intended to be a capture point. The capture point at D makes no sense. This is a map designed to be dominated by armour and air power, jets and helicopters, tanks and LAVs. Those 5 objectives that are close together, it's easier to get armour there from the US side than it is from the Russian side. And because of that, the US often have this, which is the helicopter pad that spawns a helicopter if you capture C. The way these 5 points are linked together just gives the US too much of an advantage. The Russians have got to come across the river, pretty much over that bridge, to try and get any of these points. If you've got good jet pilots, anything trying to cross that bridge or cross the river is doomed. C is great. It's a great infantry point, but the rest of the map is pretty poor when it comes to infantry combat. Yeah, you can play an engineer with a DMR and a SRAW, take things out at long range, but you're pretty vulnerable to all the armour and all the air. And I think the big problem with this map is D. It should be moved over to this side somewhere. Now, I know I've been complaining, but I don't think this map is bad. It can be frustrating and it is imbalanced. I think if D came here it would be much better. But on the whole, if you like jets, if you like helicopters, if you like tanks, it's a good map. If you don't like those, if you like infantry, then you're pretty much stuck to playing at C. The feeling I'm getting from these final stand maps is Armoured Kill from Battlefield 3. This is very like the Kaiser Railroad map. To be honest, I wasn't a great fan of Armoured Kill, but we'll have to wait and see. Thanks for watching.